But there's some really, really fantastic startups that have come out as a result of new reasoning AI capabilities and artificial general intelligence capabilities that they have breakthroughs in, and there's several of them that are related to agentic AIs, really exciting companies, and there's several of them related to physical AIs. There's just handfuls of each one of them, and each one of them needs additional compute. And that's, the type of things that Andy talks about, because they need to go to AWS and they have urgent need for more compute right away. And so that's on top of what we already knew to have POs and forecasts and such. The midterm comes from the fact that this year's capital investment for data centers is so much greater than last year's. And of course, we had a very large year last year. We had a great year last year. It stands to reason that with Blackwell and with all the new data centers going online, we're going to have a fairly great year. Now, long term, the thing that's really exciting is we're just at the beginning of the reasoning AI era. This is the time when AI is thinking to itself before it answers a question. Instead of just immediately generating an answer, it'll reason about it, maybe break it down step by step. It'll do maybe some searching in its own mind before it creates and composes a smart answer for you. The amount of computation necessary to do that reasoning process is 100 times more than what we used to do. So if you could imagine, we thought computation, the amount of compute necessary, was a lot last year. And then all of a sudden, reasoning AI, DeepSeek was an example of that, ChatGPT 4o is an example of that, Grok 3 reasoning is an example of that. So all of these reasoning AI models now need a lot more compute than what we used to
well, let me stop you there,
that puts even more load.
Because some people took DeepSeek to mean actually that you need less compute, right? Because the initial report was that they were doing more with less. But you're saying, in fact, some of what came out of DeepSeek was the opposite, that there's going to be more compute demanded. Unpack that for me.
There are three phases in how AI works, how AI is developed largely. Number one is pre-training. It's kind of like us going through high school. A lot of basic math, basic language, basic everything. That basic understanding of human knowledge is essential to do what's the next step, which is called post-training. In post-training, you might get human feedback. It's like a teacher showing it to you. We call it reinforcement learning, human feedback. You might practice and do thought experiments. This is preparing for a test. You're doing a whole lot of practices. We call it reinforcement learning, AI feedback. You could either also do tests and practice, and we call it reinforcement learning, verifiable reward feedback. So now basically it's AIs teaching AIs how to be better AIs. That post-training process is where an enormous amount of innovation is happening right now. A lot of it happened with these reasoning models. And that computation load could be 100 times more than pre-training. And then here comes inference, the reasoning process. Instead of just spewing out an answer, when prompted, it reasons about it. It thinks about how best to answer that question, breaks it down step by step, might even reflect upon it, come up with several versions, pick the best one, and then presents it to you. So the amount of computation that we have to do even at inference time now is 100 times more than what we used to do when ChatGPT first came out. And so all of a sudden, the combination of all these ideas, largely related to reinforcement learning and synthetic data generation and reasoning, all of this is just causing compute demand to go sky high.